Hey everyone, this is attorney Sid Pedinti, and I welcome you today to Entrepreneur Empowered. I hope you're having an amazing day. You might be tuned in on BashaniRadio.com, on iHeartRadio Worldwide, or watching us online on our website, or even on Facebook, or perhaps on Google. Wherever you're streamed in from, I welcome you here. If you're here for the first time, you're tuned in for roughly 45 to 60 minutes with me, as today I'm going to help you explore the different business and legal strategies that apply to your business. Whether you're starting a business for the first time, or even if you're an experienced entrepreneur and you have a ton of transactions already in place, you have a lot of momentum behind you, you're involved in a variety of deals and contracts and negotiations as we speak, this legal guide can help you get streamlined, can help you get structured, can help you get organized and operate your business knowing that you're making the right legal and business strategic moves in your day-to-day operations. Okay, so that's what you have in for today's show. If you're streaming this and you're listening to us online, I welcome you to follow up by going to our website, which is californialawservices.com. I have started to upload all the different shows and the videos that accompany each and every show so that you have a visual guide of the different concepts I'm talking about. You have something that you can download, you have something that you can use and apply in your business. I have made these different resources that I'm explaining to you about, and even today, the comprehensive business and legal guide that I've created for you is available for you to download. So make sure that after the show, you go online, californialawservices.com, and you can go to the video training section. You will see this video and also the exact PDF, this business and legal guide in a PDF version that you can download, print this out, stick it on top of your desk, in front of your computer, in front of your workspace. Make sure that each and every box of the different topics I'm going to explore today are going to be checked as you go ahead and manage and operate your business. Okay? So once again, my name is attorney Sid Pedinti. You can read about me on my website. This is California Law Services, my business and intellectual property law firm based out of California. It's in Los Angeles. I'm right off the Pacific Coast Highway in a city called Manhattan Beach. It's a small oceanside city located about 15 miles from downtown Los Angeles. So I run my business practice here. Most of the clients I represent are entrepreneurs, business owners, digital marketing agency owners. They are serial entrepreneurs, technology entrepreneurs, people who have marketing agencies, people who have real estate companies, even law firms. And a lot of times it involves the integration of business, legal, intellectual property, and even technology to gain the upper hand in your marketplace. So this guide is going to help you at least get a good idea as you're in one side as you're growing your business, how you can structure your business to make sure you're compliant. Okay, so a couple of disclaimers. I have um, put together a little bit about my activities. You can read about that. A few disclaimers. Nothing is meant to be legal advice today. This is just general information I'm sharing with you in the course of my practice and representing, thousands of clients now. These are the hot topics that I've found to be of major and critical importance in every business. So here's a table of contents I'm going to share with you. We have on our checklist for today 11 topics. Okay, the first one we're going to go through is business name and trademarks. The second one is business and professional license. Then we have business formation, website terms and marketing compliance. Number 5 is intellectual property. Then we have contracts and agreements. We have employee related contracts. We have joint venture dealings. Number 9 is commercial asset checklist. Number 10 is risk and conflict checklist. And number 11 is an intellectual property monetization checklist. So the last three checklists are more customized to your business. So we're going to walk through the first 8 and 9 concepts, which are checkboxes for you to use here, and use those to develop your own intellectual property strategic game plan, which is what this business document is. So the first step, as you're talking about putting together your business, the number one thing you want to do is look into trademarks. So whether you have a new business that you're setting up, or this may be an existing business that you already operate. You might be an entrepreneur who already has a business. You have a business name you're operating with, but you're not sure whether it's trademarked or not. You're not sure how it's going to impact your business if it is trademarked. So here's a list of things you can do right away to ensure that number one, your business name is not trademarked by somebody else. Also, your domain name or something else that you're using is not trademarked or taken up. If it is, then there's a few other strategies that you have to consider. But for now, the first step is to identify whether or not it's taken. So what is a trademark? So the first thing is to create a business name that does not infringe someone else's trademark or existing business name. So I recommend you to do an internet search where you conduct an in-depth internet search, ensure your proposed business name, product, or service name is not already being used out there, or even variations of it. So, if you're going to call yourself Ion and there's somebody else with a different spelling, or E-I-N spelled the same way, these might be slight variations, right? Pepsi and Pepsi spelled with a C, let's say. Domain search. The other thing you want to do is conduct a thorough domain registration and name database search, like databases like Whois, Namecheap, GoDaddy, and even conduct one on Google itself for your potential name, and once again, or variations. I also recommend you do a United States Patent and Trademark Office, USPTO search, which is the official database to ensure your proposed business name is not already registered as a trademark by somebody else. You also want to perform a local state Secretary of State search in whatever state you're listening in from, wherever you reside or plan to conduct your business. So search the local name database on the Secretary of State website in your particular state to ensure no one else is operating with that business name. Okay, so that's as far as business names and trademarks are concerned. Topic number 2, business and professional licenses. Look, some professions have specific regulations. They are regulated by specific government bodies or regulatory agencies such as attorneys, right? Or realtors or insurance agents. So if you're getting into a type of business or you're already operating a business that you think does require regulation, and of course you want to be regulated. So number one is to apply for your business license, obtain a license from your local county, your city, or even your municipality. Okay, industry specific licenses. Many industries are regulated, and you are required to obtain a license prior to even opening a business. All right, so make sure you do that with the administrative body. Like I said, there's a few examples like mortgage agents, insurance, real estate, attorneys, cosmetology, electricians, and a whole bunch more. Special bank accounts. Ensure you apply and open a special trust account if you do take client money for specific purposes. So, for example, attorneys and realtors. Special registrations. Some professionals are required to obtain additional licenses or even insurances and even registered with the local regulatory agencies or even a decision-making body, for example. So some examples might be patent office, courthouses, or if you're working with the IRS in some way, then make sure that you get all these specific regulations and licenses ahead of time. Let's talk about business formation now. Here's a checklist I'm going to go through with you. So number one is your legal entity. Choose the type of business entity you want to open. So you can be a sole proprietor, you can be a partnership, you can have a limited liability corporation, an S corp or C corp, or some other entity like a nonprofit organization. Okay, these are the different entities available generally in every state across the US. So you want to decide one based on specific activities that you're going to be performing, based on the level of risk that you'll expose yourself to. And so based on the level of risk, you want to set up your business in a way that minimizes this, right? So it's requires a little bit of understanding and requires tactical and strategic planning so that you're avoiding mistakes later on by not filing something on time or filing something the right way. So number 2 is to file with the Secretary of State. File the appropriate documents with the Secretary of State in your state. Okay, so I'm talking about the Articles of Incorporation or the Articles of Organization, all right, and other such ones. Also conduct a doing business as DBA name. If you would like to operate under a different name other than your legally filed name or corporate name, then you have to apply for a DBA from your local county clerk. Most courts have the service. So, for $50, I think, or depending on your state, it might be slightly different. 50 to $100, you can get this license, and they'll publicize it in a newspaper as well. So if your state has a requirement for you to publish your DBA name, contact a newspaper agency and publish this. Most newspaper companies also offer the service for something like $50. You're probably required to get an EIN number, which is an employment identification number, identifying your business revenue, and that's how the government keeps track of all the activities happening in your business. Make sure you apply for this and use this as your primary reference when you open bank accounts or call the IRS. Filing deadlines. If you filed for an S Corp, you have up to 75 days to file a Form 2553. Okay? Make sure you schedule these into your calendar. If it's a C Corp, it's something different. If it's an LLC, you have an SI, Statement of Information, you're supposed to file. So there's a lot of requirements depending on the particular type of entity you file, legal entity, as well as the state you file in. Make sure you look into that, schedule it, don't miss those deadlines. Bank accounts. Once you have the EIN number, go ahead and use the business documents to open a bank account or checking account, right? Get in the habit of separating your business personal accounts and monies as well from the get-go. If you're not doing this, I suggest you do this immediately. You want to make sure that you're not, quote-unquote, piercing the corporate veil, as they call it, which is essentially using your business as your personal as your business, where there's no separation. What happens in this situation is that you're exposing your personal assets because you're using your personal assets, your personal bank accounts for your business purposes. It sort of ties both together. So you're going to expose your personal assets and expose your personal liability for business related liabilities, right? Or expenses, which you don't want to do. So get in the habit of separating all the business and personal monies and keep it that way. Online payments. Open a PayPal or Stripe and other payment processing accounts so that you can start taking payments online. Make sure you have the organizational agreements. So set up your internal administrative or other organization agreements. Make sure these are all in place. Ownership, equity split, investor or partner documentation, client contracts, online disclaimers, etc. I suggest you seek the help of an attorney, probably in your state, because these contracts have to be set up very carefully. You don't want to miss anything. Internal agreements, storage, and filing. Make sure all the business documentation, registration, and contracts that you have in your business are safe. They're in a separate folder, and maybe even a hard copy, right? You may need these documents over and over again. So make sure it's safe, make sure it's secure. If there's any reporting that you have to do, ensure that your expenses, your activities, all the things you spend money on are reported on an annual basis, and even include things like purchases, equipment, contractor agreements, maybe some capital investment that you've put together, or even allocations that you have set aside. All right, so these are requirements of reporting that you need to comply with if you're in business. Likewise, it applies to tax and filing requirements. Hire an accountant. If you're in business, make sure you have one, right, to help you set up and comply with quarterly tax payments, and also give them a copy of all your business files so that they have everything in check. Filing requirements, schedule and comply with state filing requirements, also franchise taxes, as well as insurance if you're required to have such. Let's talk about your website terms and marketing compliance related matters. So, terms and conditions, number one. Draft and publish customized terms and conditions for all your websites, your landing pages, and your web content. If you took the time and the effort and the money, right, and invested your resources to build a website, open a business, make sure you take the time to customize some of these terms, right? Look it up, ensure that you have all the different regulations in place, and ensuring your disclaimers, you customize that for your specific business model. You know, they say that no two businesses are alike, no two people are alike, no two cases are alike. So why is it that your website terms and conditions are alike, right? There's boilerplate contracts and different terms and agreements, but you want to make sure you customize it to some degree. That way you capture the essence of your particular business model in there. Okay, so I highly recommend you do this customization of terms and conditions and privacy policies and even the disclaimers on your websites and your contracts and the different agreements that you execute. Advertising rules and regulations. Ensure that you're in compliance with all the Federal Trade, FTC, Commission rules and regulations that pertain to advertising your small business. Okay, so special advertising rules. Again, comply with industry-specific advertising, especially for attorneys or realtors or people in the insurance business. There's very specific regulations that you have to give, right? I gave you a disclaimer that this is not legal advice. I have to give you that disclaimer. If you notice on this PDF that you're about to download, or if you're watching the video, that you see that it says attorney advertising material, right? I have to give you that. It gives you my name, it gives my contact information, who I am, my website. This is information that the bar requires me to give, all right? So that's why it's here. And make sure you find that out in your business and comply with those specific regulations. Also talk about anti-spam regulations. Make sure that you integrate these into your email marketing campaigns and you comply with them. If you're using pictures, images, or videos of somebody else, make sure you obtain the specific licenses and the rights to use them and on your website, right, or any of the marketing content or anywhere else as part of your business, unless it specifically says license royalty free or license free, which there's very specific websites that you can use for that purpose, like Unsplash or Pixabay. Other than that, you want to make sure you get the required licenses, pay a fee if there's a fee, to use these images, copyrighted material of somebody else. Special disclosures. Protect information you collect from your clients and visitors on your website, including email, financial, or other personal information. Contest rules. Okay, if you're involved in contest type marketing in your business, then comply with these contest marketing rules and make sure you comply with them as you're giving away prizes and other products and services. Each state is specific. Some states don't even allow for it. Make sure you're very, very clear on where you can and cannot advertise. The FTC, excuse me, issues heavy and hefty penalties and sanctions for people who don't comply with this, so make sure you do. Age restrictions, once again, comply with these laws that relate to visitors who are under 18 years of age, so minors, how they're using the content that you're putting out there. Security. Safeguard your emails, your CRM systems, and other databases that contain client information or any other data that would result in a breach or a loss, right? That could get you in trouble. Also, secure payments. Make sure if you're taking payments, you obtain the SSL certifications for your website and other fraud detection mechanisms, right? So use different mechanisms like PayPal and Stripe and these other platforms that have some fraud mechanisms built in there as you collect information, as you collect data, as you collect payments from customers. Let's talk about intellectual property. So intellectual property, number one is to perform an audit, right? Perform an internal intellectual property audit to measure the intangible assets that you possess in your business. So here I'm talking about patents, trademarks, service marks, copyrights, and even trade secrets, which are very broad. Okay? So contracts. Ensure that all your contracts and agreements with employees, with contractors, or with partners have non-disclosure agreements to protect your trade secrets and IP, right? It's important for you to consider protecting your IP from each and every party that you interact with in your business. Internally, whether it's employees, co-founders, or others like strategists and marketers, or externally, right, with clients and customers or competitors or outside parties. It's important for you to protect it. It's important for you to identify what you have because everything in your business is about intellectual property, right? That's the core concept. Taking an idea, taking information, taking knowledge, and transforming it into a product or service and building a business around it. That's intellectual property, right? So consider this very seriously, this particular section, because every party you're exposed to and you transact with has the potential to be directly in contact with your IP. So make sure you safeguard that. Let's talk about trademarks. Register your trademark with the USPTO office for your business name, your logo, your catchphrase, the name of your main product service, and even any other important component that enhances your brand value. The link is the USPTO office at www.us, P as in Peter, T as in Tom, O as in Orange, .gov, G-O-V. Copyrights, register your copyright with the U.S. It's the U.S. Copyright Office. It says, so again, you can get this for your website, publications, ebooks, blogs, content, or any of the creative works that you've created, songs or anything else, right? The website for that to obtain a copyright is copyright.gov. If you're thinking about patents where you have a unique good or product or service that has some sort of a novel, unique, undiscovered aspect to it, right? This can be an invention or even a software, right? Apply for design or utility patent, and this is done at the United States Patent and Trademark Office, USPTO. Keep in mind that if you're thinking about getting a patent, it's a very long process, right? And also it can be quite expensive based on what you're trying to patent and what categories you're trying to patent in. So this is an area that you need to pay very close attention to. It can get extremely tricky. In terms of infringements, ensure that you monitor, right? Constantly monitor online. Different parties, different competitors, different associations, right, online on Facebook, on Google, on YouTube, to ensure that people are not stealing your ideas, right, mimicking your website, mimicking your profiles, trying to get clients disguised as you, or swiping your ideas in some way, right? So make sure you consult an attorney to find out how you can keep track of all this stuff. Let's talk about some contracts and agreements. So client service contracts and agreements. Make sure you draft all the required client agreements for each and every interaction engagement you have with clients. Okay, this is very important. People don't take this stuff seriously, and then when a lawsuit happens, you can be slapped with major consequences and obligations that result in heavy losses sometimes, right? Based on loosely drafted contract. So make sure that you really go through each and every contract, identify all the different risks and conflicts associated with it, and have the different mechanisms that can mitigate this, right? So ask yourself in these situations, hey, where can a client or a customer be unhappy, or what are the areas that can cause a lawsuit? And those are the areas you want to have addressed in your contract. With employees, there's a lot of different type of employee agreements that you need to have in place. Make sure you have these ones. Okay. Partnership agreements. Draft the required strategic partnership and other document agreements, partners, third parties, co-founders, board of directors. Make sure you have these in place. Again, model it just like an incorporation or something else where you have the specific terms laid out. Things are very specific. The more clarity you have in terms of an internal governance of your company, the clearer it'll get in terms of designations of roles and who does what, responsibilities and whatnot. Okay, so take the time if you're in business with somebody else to draft these internal documents, because a big part of how you conduct a business and how you manage a business will depend on this. Independent contractors. Make sure you have the different independent contractor agreements if you're dealing with them, with freelancers, right? If you have a commercial lease, make sure you consult an attorney. These can get pretty complicated. Other engagements, again, things like contracts and agreements, licensing agreements, revenue sharing agreements, manufacturing agreements, distribution, royalty, purchase and sale, publishing, speaking, marketing agreements. These are just a few things I've mentioned to you. These are all the different type of documents that we handle on a day-to-day basis for our business clients. And these are the ones that you need to have in your business as well, right? No matter where you're operating, it's important to make sure that you have these different agreements and contracts with the different terms, conditions, the scope of your engagement, the disclaimers, the indemnity clauses. So in case of a lawsuit, where's your liability? Who pays who, right? And other terms that help you and protect your business. Risk mitigation. Ensure that your assets are protected from each and every side, so that you have different dispute resolution strategies in place. You can mediate something or arbitrate it rather than avoid a costly lawsuit in some way. So have some of those terms in place that give you a couple of different angles to mitigate risk, to reduce losses. At the end of the day, listen, you took the effort to start a business. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. Take the additional time and effort and invest a little bit of money up front to make sure that these things are compliant, they're all structured the right way. Right? The last thing you want to do is start all this and have loosely drafted contracts and then later on be slapped with major financial losses. I'm not sure, if you've been following me over the last few weeks, you know about my story. And if you've joined us for the first time, listen, these are things that I never took seriously in my own businesses in the past. Before my life as an attorney, right? I used to be an entrepreneur, and about 15 years ago, I ended up in a situation liquidating a business because I had no contracts in place. A $5 million business that I built in 3 to 4 years with my father was stripped away from us because of lack of contracts. So, that's sort of why I became an attorney, to make sure that I understood these concepts, that nobody else could snatch away from me what rightfully belonged to me, what I worked hard for. And I'm sure you feel the same way about you and your business, right? It's everything to you. But ask yourself, what would you do to protect your business? To me, that answer is everything. And if that means I have to spend a few $1,000s to get an attorney to draft of these documents and keep an eye on my business every month, oh yeah, absolutely worth it, right? So think about the employee contracts and agreements now. Here's a list. Employee classification. Make sure that you're classifying based on the terms of your agreement your employees very specifically. Are they independent contractors? Are they employees? Right? Who are they? Because if they're independent contractors, your obligations with payroll tax and health benefits and everything else is different than if they were an employee. Employee contracts, again, draft and sign only employment, independent contractor, or even internship agreements with these workers, right? Make sure you have different intellectual property clauses in there. Make sure you have protection of trade secrets, things that they learn about your business. Make sure you have NDAs in place so that they don't disclose this information to the wrong parties. Make sure you have anti-competitor clauses in there if your state allows it, right? And you can comply with it. So these are different clauses you need with employment related transactions. If you're in a business that has employees, then absolutely you need to understand these different situations. In fact, we had Frank from Texas a few weeks ago ask us a question about this. As a small business owner of a cleaning company, do I need to retain an attorney on? Do I need to retain an attorney for the protection of my business and my employees? Absolutely, Frank. Right? You're exposing your business, yourself, and your employees to a variety of risks and conflicts from these different jobs that you do. Maybe injury, maybe accusations of theft, maybe it's actual property damage that a person claims, your client or customer claims. So you want to make sure you're protecting yourself from, well, on you yourself from two aspects: your personal assets and your business assets, and then of course your employees, and then of course all of their particular assets and whatnot, right? So you probably want to have some kind of insurance in place. If these are employees versus contractors, then of course the terms and conditions vary. The scope of these agreements, you want to make sure have the different clauses so that if these employees or contractors that you have in place, the cleaners, do something outside what they're employed to do, then does it fall upon you, right? So these are things you want to have in place, and you want to be very transparent with the people you work with internally, right, about what you're willing to cover or not, right, and have indemnification clauses in there. Earlier I spoke about that. In an event of a lawsuit, Frank, let's say a client was to sue one of your workers, the cleaners, right, and now joined you because you're the owner of that company, right? The CEO company, they order you, you send out a cleaner, and now you're slapped with a bill. This is something that clearly you've defined to your employee, or the contractor, the cleaner, not to do, and they've done it, right? You want to make sure you capture those sort of things. So absolutely, I recommend you get an attorney on retainer month after month to make sure that you're doing things the right way. You're making all your different decisions in the right strategic, organized, and logical manner. Okay, Frank? So hopefully that helps out. Also, make sure you have your employee forms. If they're employees, make them fill out the W-4 and Form I-19s. Rules and regulations with Department of Labor laws. Make sure you comply with them state and federally. There's federal and state notices that you have to put legally in your workplace, so make sure you comply with those as well. Find out what those are and put them up. They have anti-discrimination laws as well in place. Make sure you comply with those. Employee benefits and insurance. Again, if they're employees, like I said, you have certain obligations in terms of workers' comp insurance, disability insurance, health insurance, and whatnot. Comply with those, okay? Don't mess around with that kind of stuff. It's massive, massive fines that can be slapped your way if you're not in compliance. Also, make sure you have an online and social media policy. Set something up for employees, contractors, even interns who may post about a confidential case or something proprietary about an unreleased technology or inside information that can jeopardize your business. This happens a lot, right? Insider information gets leaked because of somebody's silly mistake, and it can have major consequences. So make sure you go and have a very strong social media policy about what they can and cannot post and what they can cover. So that sort of brings me to the end of this segment of the legal and business guide that I've prepared for you, I want you to make sure you print this out, stick it on your desk, and comply with this. Right? I'm developing a much more detailed version that I'm going to share with you a little later on, probably in about a month and a half time, where we're having a few more checklists in there. Um, so as you use this information in your business, some of the things I want you to think about are, how do you as a business owner propel forward, right? How do you make decisions with confidence week after week, knowing that you're making things the right way, knowing that decisions that you're executing are not pushing your business back, that you're not taking one step forward, two steps back. You want to be progressing. You want to make sure that the pace is on, the momentum's there, you're hot, things are on your table, right? In your court, in your control. And it's very tough to do that as a business owner sometimes when you're caught up in all the different situations and so many different things happening, so many forces impacting your business. And a good way to do that is to be organized by having guides like this, a strategic guide, a map, a game plan that helps you stay organized. I even recommend, working with partners who you can constantly feed off ideas and go back and forth with so that you keep yourselves on track, right? So a lot of solo business owners face this problem where they have to execute decisions without anybody else on their side, where they think about something and it's their own voice that gives two opinions. So make sure you try to partner up, or you belong to groups, or you hire a strategic coach, or have an attorney on record or something else, anybody who you can bounce a few ideas off. And so, that's sort of the end of this segment here for today's show. I hope this legal and strategic guide and checklist that I went through methodically, step by step, gave you a little bit of clarity, or reminded you perhaps of areas that were loosely drafted, um, so that you can button it up, you can get it more compliant, and do things the right way. So that's about it for today. On the next week's segment, we have a few different guests from next week that we're gonna bring on. I have a marketer, expert Facebook marketer, Kevin. I'm going to be interviewing him shortly. He's joining us for next week's show. And then we have Lauren, who's an artificial intelligence expert. We have Will, another international business consultant who's wanted to jump on and agreed to be part of the show and give their take on entrepreneurship. These are individuals involved in a variety of different deals and transacting thousands of dollars every single day. So I thought these guys would be able to help you get a little bit of clarity in some of the things that you're facing in your business. That's it for today. I welcome you to go to California Law Services, my website. If you have any questions about your business, about legal strategies, again, I'm a California attorney, but I practice business and intellectual property, which are applied for the most part across the U.S. So I do handle cases from all states for the most part, depending on what it is. If it's filing compliant related stuff, I don't necessarily do those. But if it's structuring internal businesses or strategic and legal advisory, I'm allowed to participate in those. So I'll be more than happy to give you some feedback, even for free. I'm not asking you to hire me, but what I do recommend is to get a little bit of clarity on your present situation, figure out if the things I talked to you about today are applicable in your business, and make sure you go ahead and comply with those things. So that's it for today. I welcome you to go ahead and download this. If you have any questions, shoot them across to me. I'll be more than happy to walk through them with you. Uh, that's it for now. I hope you guys have a good day, and I will check you next week, same time, at the same place. Once again, I am attorney Sid Pedinti, aka the Entrepreneur's Attorney, and now you're checking out of Entrepreneur Empowered. Take care. Bye bye.